let's say I'm like, decide to go plant-based. Are there some tried and true like rules to follow? Because we've just did a ton of videos and I did a ton of research on seeds and nuts and legumes. And I got to say, I rocked my own world. Like I was like we had this earlier today. I'm like, hemp seeds have all 9 essential amino acids in it. Why are we not talking about this? So is there like, if I wanted to go plant-based, are there some rules I should probably follow?
Not rules as much as suggestions.
Okay, great.
And my suggestions would be, first of all, eat a wide variety of food. I would say all of the colors of the rainbow, because every color represents a different vitamin that you're getting. And you have to eat a very nutrient dense diet. Again, whether you're having animals or not animals in your diet, you have to have all of those nutrients in your system at all times. And then past that, it is really about educating yourself. And so where are the best sources of protein in the world? Where are the best sources of iron? Where are the best sources of manganese and all of the things that your body needs? Where is the purest form of them? And a lot of people say animals for protein, but look at what we're eating. And the animal protein, the animal's a vessel for that protein. That animal, we only eat in this society, we only eat vegetarian animals. Right. And so those animals are getting it from plants. And so take out the middleman and you've got more pure protein coming in. And easier to digest protein for most people. A lot of people that eat animal-based proteins don't realize how difficult it is to digest.
For the energy it takes for the body.
The energy that it takes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's weird. You and I also talked about the oxalate lectin thing. And I kind of shared with you my opinion on it. And I think my audience has heard it before, where I've studied so many different belief systems on nutrition. And when the plant paradox came out, I literally was the first time I just put my hands up in the air and I'm like, if we're going to villainize something that comes out of the earth, I'm out. Like, I don't know. Like, we've gone so extreme with nutrition now that we are making plants an enemy and calling it a toxin.
Yeah. Well, I think there's too many people trying to sell too many theories, in my opinion.
Well said.
Yeah. I think everybody feels like they have to have their own diet, their own soapbox, their own way to sell you a course, to sell you a diet, to sell you supplements, to sell you pills. They have to come up with a new thing in order to sell you on it.
Yeah.
And instead, just let people eat real food.
Right.
And yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that there's anything that's come from the plant kingdom that doesn't have a benefit to you. Now, of course, there's poisonous plants, and I don't want anyone coming after me in the comments. Yeah. There are poisonous plants. I got it. Yeah. But like you're saying, any of the foods that come from the plant kingdom, how can you go wrong? How can you build
that? And when you actually dive into the research on those, it will blow your mind. You know, like I've been on this quest to bring soy back because I think it's so important for women.
Which I'm the cheerleader right behind you.
And you know where it came from? I'll just share my own personal experience. Is as I've gone through menopause, I was like, okay, so I'm losing estrogen. So I need to see what I can do to support as much estrogen as possible. And then that opens up the question of creams and patches. And then I brought a beautiful integrative OB on who I just adore this woman. And she doesn't get enough attention. Her name's Dr. Felice Gersh. She's in Orange County and amazing, amazing woman. And I asked her the question, I'm like, okay, how do menopausal women get more estrogen? And she's like, well, nature provided some. And they're called phytoestrogens. And so she was the first one to help me understand, like, we can actually talk about soy without thinking it's going to cause cancer.
Yes.
So what that then opened my mind to go, well, okay, then are there plants that help support progesterone? And then I found the sweet potato and I found chocolate because it has magnesium in it. And then I told you about, I had Dr. Lee on this podcast. I'm like, what can we do to support the bacteria in the gut that break down estrogen? And he's like, tempeh and fermented miso. And all of a sudden you start looking at the plant kingdom and you're like, whoa, it's like a medicine cabinet.
It is a medicine cabinet. But let me ask you this question. Now you've incorporated soy back into your life. How do you feel?
Yeah. I mean, I'm doing a lot of things for my health. So I can't say one or the other is like totally rocking my world. But I'll tell you that I have a diet and a lifestyle that when I live this diet and lifestyle, I rely less on my bioidenticals. Like I just don't need the creams as much. I can almost get completely off of them.
Amazing.
And it definitely is a better pace, like a slower pace, but it was bringing plants back in.
Yeah.
That was the major thing.
I know. So if you conspiracy theory it, whenever somebody says, well, this study this, and I say, stop. Who funded that study?
Right.
Who did that study? Was the study on men or was the study on women?
Right.
Break it all down. Unbox all of it. Get curious with all this information. Stop just saying, oh, well, so-and-so said this, so I'm going to believe it.
Right.
Do the research. And so if you start digging down the soy rabbit hole, it's very interesting to see who funded a lot of those studies and why they kind of wanted it out of the American diet.
I say this all the time. Did you know that the tagline, breakfast is the most important meal of the day?
I do know.
Was Kellogg's.
Kellogg's.
And like, here we are like 50 years later.
Yeah.
And we're like, or it's probably maybe like 40 years later and we still follow that ethos and we never question it.
No.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
So, okay. So let's go and look at like, I want to break it down according to hormones because that's sort of this vein. And then as people will hear in the introduction, like you were a major contributor to Eat Like a Girl. And you and I have had so many conversations about plants and hormones.
Yeah.
Protein. Super important for the female body. What plants do we have that are packed with protein?
Well, packed with protein. Almost all plants contain some trace amount of protein, which is a very interesting thing to think about.
Yeah.
And then it's about building it up. So with plants, you need a variety of it. It's not like, okay, great, I can have a tablespoon of hemp seeds today and I'm good to go.
Yeah.
It's about combining them. And so if you're doing a salad, on top of that salad, put baked tofu, put hemp seeds, chia seeds, flax seeds, pepitas, sunflower seeds, like really do a combination of all of them to build up to your number of protein, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So it isn't just one thing. It isn't here, just have a steak and you've got your protein.
Yeah. You have to be a little more, you have to be more intentional.
Yes.
Yeah.
But nuts, legumes, beans, seeds, all are packed. Even we were talking about like potatoes, sweet potatoes, pumpkin, all have protein and fairly significant. It's just the combination and putting all of the things together.
Right. I don't know if you saw in the book, but one of the things that was really important to me in Eat Like a Girl was to create 2 charts. I put a chart in about like, here are some amazing resources for protein. And then I did it for plants as well. And again, when I was researching the book, I'm like, oh my God, there's so much protein here in plants. But what humans do is, and this is why I wasn't a great vegetarian, is we eat the same damn foods over and over and over again. And when I've sat with people who have been really sick, when I ask them, give me a list of the foods you eat, there's like less than 20.
Yes. And it is variety. You have to get into variety. And I really like to say too, when people get in a rut and they're not sure what to eat and people say like, oh, you're vegan. Like, what do you eat? Just salad? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
There's only 11-ish widely sourced animal proteins out there. There's over 23,000 edible plants.
That's crazy.
Can we just take a moment to think about that? 23,000 edible plants on Earth, over 23,000 edible plants on Earth that Mother Nature has provided for us. And they all serve a purpose.
Yeah.
And so the possibilities of eating plant-based are endless.
Yeah.
And it's your responsibility to have all of them.
All 23,000.
Travel a lot, if you don't know that about me. And the first thing I do will go to markets and I buy everything that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
And I just want to rip it all open and eat it and research it and figure out what it is and what it does for me. And it's so interesting to me because the world is just so big and it's so full of so many cool things.
Okay, my baby's coming to you. Eat Like a Girl. You want to know the foods that will support hormones? Guess what? I have them for you already. It's a free giveaway. Just click the link above and I'll send you a list of all the foods that support amazing hormonal health. And plants, if you look at plants, they're actually different plants grow in different climates.
Yeah.
So like if you're like, I don't know if I told you the story, but our daughter moved to Victor, Idaho. And the big thing in Idaho is huckleberry shakes.
Oh.
And I was like, I've never had a huckleberry.
Huckleberries are delicious, but I've never had a shake.
Yeah, the shake was really good. Now there wasn't a lot healthy in the shake other than the huckleberry, just so we're clear. But they kept saying, yeah, it's a big berry in this region. And I was like, we don't have huckleberries in California.
Well, that's an interesting conversation about eating local and the importance of eating local and what that means on a global scale. Because we live in Southern California. You go to the grocery store and there's basically everything you could ever want from all over the world in one store.
Yeah.
And so how important is it? There's not that much research out there on how important is it to eat hyperlocal. So do people in Idaho need huckleberries more than people in Florida? And do people in Florida need more citrus or tropical fruits than somebody that lives in Alaska?
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to think about where plants are grown and if those people adopt to needing that thing more than anybody else.
So that nature would provide a plant that would help supply a nutrient that would help with the climate.
With that climate. Like, look, Italians eat a ton of tomatoes. And what are tomatoes high in? Lycopene.
Lycopene. I was about to say lectins. It's not that.
It's not lectins.
Yeah.
And what do? When you eat a lot of them, it helps. Italians are in the sun a lot, and it helps your skin, and it helps them tan and not burn.
Wow.
And
that makes sense.
So cool, right?
God, nature's so freaking cool.
Nature's amazing.
That is insane. Okay, where are my gals that are struggling with hormonal imbalance? Bloated, feeling like you're not making progress with weight loss? You need to add these foods in so that you can support better hormonal health. There is a lifestyle that estrogen wants you to live, and there is a lifestyle that progesterone wants you to live.